Great rising family, joyous rising. Welcome. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Great rising, wealthy rising, rich rising, joyous rising. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome. So check in family. First of all, I want to say this is the 17th. Happy 17th and happy moon day. So this is Monday, March the 17th. We are in the month of March or March Madness. March is also known as a war month. We just breached or passed the Ides of March, which is around the middle of March. And I've already done a podcast on how the Roman Catholics, or the Romans, used to say, beware the Ides of March. So the Ides of March is the middle of March, around the 15th or 16th. And the reason why the Romans were upset about the 15th and they considered it to be an ominous time is because it's a time when Julius Caesar was assassinated. So if you've read Shakespeare's play, then you know that Julius Caesar was assassinated by Roman soldiers, and some of those were his friends, like Brutus. So Julius Caesar had actually gone to hear a fortune teller to give a fortune about his life. And what the fortune teller told him is that you will have your life taken away from you. But this person who will take your life is not born of woman. So he was like, I'm in good hands. I'm okay. This person is not born of a woman. Everybody's born of a woman. But what he did not know is that Brutus, the one who was in charge of actually taking his life, was ripped from his mother's womb, or as Shakespeare said in the play, untimely ripped from his mother's womb. So in that way, he wasn't naturally born of a woman. He was taken from a woman. So when Julius Caesar had his fortune teller done, give him a fortune to describe what was going to happen with his life. Even though she said he would be unalive, he said, okay, everything's going to be okay. But later on in that day, he did succumb to death. And as he was dying, his parting words were, et tu, Brute, you too, my closest friend. Kind of like a situation that happened with Christ and the person who betrayed him, Judas. So the Romans always said, beware of the Ides of March, be upset. It's an ominous time. That's what they told the masses so that we could be on edge. And I say we because the United States of America was controlled by Rome. Rome was the leader of the United States Incorporated. But behind the scenes around March 15th and 16th, the Romans actually celebrated. And they considered it a high manifestation time because it's in alignment with what's going on with the moon. I believe it was a full moon around that time. So while they're telling the masses to beware or be upset about, beware the Ides of March or the middle of March, again, behind the scenes, they were celebrating. So all I'm saying is that we just passed that time, March the 15th, even though some people acknowledge or commemorate it as Julius Caesar dying during that time. In our reality, it's a high manifestation time. And just a few days after the Ides of March, here we are with the 17th day. And that makes us remember or commemorate the 17th letter. All of you all who are in the truth movement know about the people who had the highest military clearance. The highest military clearance being a Q clearance was something that people high up in the military and government agencies had. And these people were disseminating information to the masses as early as 2017, 2018. And they were distributing this information through certain websites. And that's how some of the masses started to wake up. Now, those of us who've been in this way for a while, we are independent researchers. So we've been reporting on the news even before the Q movement. But we do acknowledge and appreciate the Q movement, and we appreciate the 17th letter. So look out for some wonderful news coming out today because they love to do things in codes. And since those people with the highest military clearance, the Q movement, Q people have been dropping information for almost 8 years, they'll probably drop something on today as well. And then when you think of 17, 1 plus 7 equals 8. And 8 is the number of abundance. 8 is a number of prosperity. So just know, family, that you are in a good way. I want you to stay the course. Just A few minutes ago, I just got finished doing a podcast with Gary and Casper, and they have a podcast on YouTube called, I think it's called Quantum Leap or something like that. I can't think of the full name, but I will put it in the description section for you, and I'll upload that video later on if they send it to me. But I did a podcast with Gary and Casper, and we were talking about staying the course. And that made me want to come on here and let you all know that so much is happening with our soul family, people reporting, having wonderful information actually being delivered to their mailbox. So I want to share that information for you. And I'm going to do a recap of what's been going on in the world and in America so you can keep your vibrations high and you can stay positive and know that we are in a good place. So keep checking in, family. I'm so happy to see you all. Yes, I'll see you all like chiming in and confirming some of the things I'm going to talk about today. So family, what's been going on in the news? Hello, Taj. It's good to see you, my love. Wonderful. Always seeing you here. If you want to join in for a quick chat, you're more than welcome, Taj. So let me just do a brief recap for some of you who have not been following me for some time. Thank you. I hear the Cash App going off. Thank you for all those sending me Cash App blessing. I appreciate you. I will acknowledge you. My Cash App is $ Mama Kia 13. That's MAMA 13. And as always, I'm honored to serve you, and I'm grateful that you pour back into me. So here is a brief recap of what's been going on behind the scenes so that you can know that things really are working on our behalf. First things first, when you look up the news for today, because remember I said it's the 17th, so you're going to see a lot come out, and then tomorrow is a Tuesday, and Tuesdays are where they usually make great big announcements. But let's just talk about today. Nothing major has come out yet, but when you look online and you see what are the breaking news for today so far is that there is a weather storm happening in America across 7 states. And they have reported 40 people have died so far here in America through severe weather storms. So we have a system of tornadoes going across the states, but the articles mention 7 states. And again, they love to speak in codes. 7 is a number of completion. 7 is known as God's number, or God's complete number. So perhaps they're letting us know that something is happening behind the scenes and that things have been completed. So I want to talk about some more breaking news, but before I do that, I just want to remind you that things are happening on our behalf, okay? Stay the course. We know that President Donald Trump, who is the CEO and Commander-in-Chief of the United States Incorporated, has been systematically destroying the deep state. And he said he would do that. He said, I will systematically demolish the deep state. That was his campaign promise. What he is doing is he's using their tools of the deep state to bring them down. The tool of the deep state is executive orders. President Trump is using these orders to demolish them, to downsize the government for one. He created DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency, to get rid of many, if not all, of these governmental agencies like the IRS, the FBI, the CIA, the EPA, Homeowners Association, DMV, Drivers Motor Vehicle, all of those things, because declaring or demanding that you have to have a license for a business, a license to get married, a license to drive, a license to do this, that, and the other is unconstitutional. And it's treasonous. And we know that because the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine. They did that last summer. When the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine, essentially what they were saying is that now the governmental agencies that have been put in place and that were allowed to create policies, statutes, and codes that were against us have to cease and desist. So this is why President Trump is using executive orders to create DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. And he has tasked Elon Musk, who is the richest man in the world, a billionaire, to lead that charge. President Trump is under court order. He has been being led by a galactic and an Earth alliance to do so. So people that's being dismissed from their jobs, I want to encourage you, stay encouraged and keep your vibrations high. because at least you know that the system is being destroyed, and at least for the most part you are being let go with some type of money or with some type of incentive. So President Trump again is under executive order to demolish these governmental agencies, because these agencies are not part of our republic. They must go. Also know that the United States Incorporated is defunct, bankrupt, and has to go away anyway. And so President Trump, what he's doing is demolishing them for our good. So he's creating executive orders to downsize the government, and any of those agencies that are left that could work for our good would be put under the republic. So the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine, which said that all of these agencies could create themselves and force us to pay fines and penalties if we didn't abide by their rules. And also part of the Chevron doctrine, later known as the Chevron deference, was that if you were forced to be guilty, forced to be declared guilty, or forced to pay a fine, and you go to court, the courts and the judges would then, according to Chevron doctrine, refer you back to or defer you back to those government agencies and say you had to do what they said because those were the experts. So the Supreme Court of the United States took it upon themselves to say that is unconstitutional. It is treasonous. Any governmental agency that does that must be demolished. And through Executive Order 138.18, as well as the Supreme Court overturning the doctrine, their assets will be frozen. The Supreme Court went a step further and said any judge that allowed this to happen and deferred you back to those government agencies and said you had to comply, they have committed treason. And any judge that knows of a judge that went along with that and did not report it to the president, they have committed misprision of treason. So we see all of this working for our good behind the scenes. So when you see the Supreme Court of the United States doing certain things like this, know that this is returning us to the republic. This is also why the Supreme Court of the United States overturned Roe versus Wade, because number one, they were saying that we're not saying that you cannot unalive your child. What we're saying is that the federal government can no longer say that you can or cannot do that, because the federal government will cease to exist. The federal government has been demolished, and now we're putting that back in the hands of the state. Why? Because according to our republic, each country or each state is its own country. So for all the women that are upset, look, you now are going to have to go to the states, and the state will decide what's going to happen for its people, because according to the republic and according to our constitution, local communities and local governments have more power than the federal government. Another thing that happened with the Supreme Court of the United States is the Supreme Court of the United States declared that state-sponsored banks can now operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system. Why? Because the Federal Reserve central banking system will cease to exist, because the central banks have been destroyed by the use of gold. And that's why all banks now have to be Basel III compliant. What does Basel III compliancy mean? It means now banks have to all be transparent. They can no longer steal your money. They can't use your money to invest in other things. They can't use your money to do a bank bail-in, because you are really a creditor and not a debtor. And so when you and I put money in the banks, what had happened under the old system is that we were lending money to the banks, and the banks would use that money to make investments, and they would steal that money to get themselves out of financial trouble in the case of an economic situation or economic hardships. Well, the Supreme Court of the United States says, no bueno, not good, not anymore. Can banks do that? Through Basel III compliances, banks have to be transparent. Banks have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, meaning they have to recognize gold as money and have gold in the banks. No more fiat, no more old dollar system. And banks have to receive tier 2 assets, which are foreign reserve notes or foreign currencies. So, as an aside, banks met globally last year to make sure that they were prepared for your tier 2 assets. And then the article that I stated in my podcast from, then I'll put that podcast in the description section for you, stated that the reason why banks met globally all across the world to ensure that they were prepared to receive tier 2 assets is because they need you. The banks need your foreign currencies, because gold and the foreign assets or foreign reserve notes will maintain the banks. So in case of economic hardship, economic problems, if banks are facing bankruptcy, they don't have to steal your money. Number one, they can't no more with the Basel III compliances. And now they have gold to maintain the health of the bank and tier 2 assets. So they need you. They're depending on you. They're waiting on you, because the time is now, family, where we'll be able to exchange our currencies. Banks met globally to determine that last year. Also, the Supreme Court of the United States said not only do state-sponsored banks have the prerogative to operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system, but state-sponsored banks can now have their own charter and they can issue out their own gold-backed currencies. In the meantime, the whole world has been rushing back to gold. The whole world has decided to stop trading with the United States dollar. Okay, so even though you hear President Trump saying you got to keep the dollar, keep it strong, no, he's talking in code. He's talking about the new currency that's backed by gold and silver. Okay, but the whole world, and I've shown you that King's World article that says the whole world is rushing back or hurtling back to gold as money. So keep checking in. I know I'm on a roll, family. So the Supreme Court of the United States said that state-sponsored banks can now operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system, and they can issue out their own gold-backed currencies. Exciting news. In the meantime, and I've shown you these articles, more than 46 states have declared silver and gold as money. They have reclaimed silver and gold as money. That article was put out by the Sound Monetary Defense League. It says that 46 states, in some articles it say 46 states. In one article by the Sound Monetary Defense League, it says more than 46 states have declared or reclaimed silver and gold as money, in alignment with the Constitution for the United States that says the only thing that can be used to pay off debts are silver and gold. Also, the Constitution for our republic says that the dollar is defined as a fixed weight in gold. So when you hear Donald Trump saying, y'all can't end the dollar, you countries cannot stop trading with the dollar, you got to know he's speaking in terms of the republic and the Constitution for the republic that says the dollar is defined as a fixed weight in gold. So on one hand, you see the BRICS coalition, Brazil, Russia, China, South Africa, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the whole coalition that joined BRICS saying we're not trading with the USD, United States dollar, different from the dollar that's defined by a fixed weight in gold. So when they're saying we're not trading with the dollar, and they have tapped on the shoulders of all other exporting nations to do the same, such that now 209 nations have stopped trading with the dollar and they've repatriated their gold back to themselves from the Vatican, and now that gold and other resources and minerals, rare earth minerals, will back their currencies. Okay, so now they're using their local currencies for trade. You have the BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and all exporting nations that have joined them. 2 years ago, when I reported this, that was 85% of the global population. It's more now. And then you have the Shanghai Corporation, those Asian nations that have all decided to stop trading with the United States dollar, the fiat dollar that was attached to the Federal Reserve central banking system. And that is why King's World published this article in February 2023 on the 16th, 1 + 6 = 7, okay? God's complete number, saying that the world is hurtling back towards money. And they support my claim that Vladimir Putin was that trigger, because when he went to Ukraine, Biden put sanctions on him, and his ultimate clapback was saying, I don't care if you put sanctions on me, I will stop trading with the United States dollar. And I will encourage the BRICS bloc to stop trading with the United States dollar. And I will do you one better. I will at my BRICS summit, I will tell the whole world to stop trading with the dollar. And he did that because of the secret agreement called Project Sandman, which was an agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, stop trading with the dollar. What was that trigger? Vladimir Putin going to Ukraine to clean out the deep underground military bases, to expose the Biden crime family and all these families that were laundering money and children and women, all that, and drugs. When he exposed that upset and incensed Biden. Biden put sanctions on him. But all that did was bring out to the world all of the corruption that was going on, as well as the labs that created the sicknesses that shut down the world. And of course, I've told you guys this, that James Comer, who is the chair of the House Oversight Committee, saw some of that information as well as the investigation that he did. And if you go to oversight.house.gov, in the search engine, type in BIDEN, you'll see all the evidence that was collected by James Comer, the chairperson of the House Oversight Committee, and Vladimir Putin, who made sure this information was made known worldwide. And I like Vladimir, or whoever's playing him, because he also exposed that all the biblical characters are melanated and that the Christ is melanated. And he was really trying to wake up the people, wake up the Americans here, and wake up people to say, look, they've been lying about everything. And this is the real reason why, who was the guy that's the Kim Jong-un in North Korea wouldn't do business with the United States Incorporated. That's the real reason, because he knew who the original Americans were here, and he wasn't going to do any type of dealings with the United States Incorporated. And that's why they chose Scottie Pippen, a melanated man, to breach the gap. Got to know how to read the codes, read between lines. Scottie Pippen was a basketball player. The story they told you is that Kim Jong-un loves basketball. So he asked Scottie Pippen, Scottie, my darling, would you please make a meeting between me and Donald Trump so that we can bridge the gap and so that we can now become friends. So that's part of the deal. But also Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, there was a leader in Spain, a leader in Italy. Many of the people, the real ones, not the replacements, knew that America ran the world, knew that America actually was the beginning, knew that America was Egypt, and they were not going to continue to do business with the deep state, also known as the United States Incorporated. They were waiting for the autogenous indigenous people and all of her brothers and sisters here on this landmass called Turtle Island, the North Gate, North Africa, Northwest Africa, Amorica, America, however you want to call it. They were waiting for us right here to wake up. Okay, so you have all that going on, family. In the meantime, you have President Trump using the executive orders to demolish the deep state. So a lot has happened. Stay the course. Stay encouraged. He has said that he would do away with the IRS, or the Internal Revenue Service, and he will create the External Revenue Services. And that's what he's doing, which is why a lot of IRS workers were what? Let go. It's also why the lights may be on, but nobody's home. We've seen many, many videos of the headquarters of the IRS actually not having anybody in there and it being blocked off. Okay. Additionally, those 87,000 IRS workers that were supposed to be hired and given the command to shoot us at gunpoint if we didn't pay taxes, they have been told stand down and they were not hired. So President Trump has demolished a big portion of the IRS, and it will completely go away, and created the External Revenue Service. What he did in his first administration actually was put the duties of the IRS underneath the United States Treasury Department. That's why Dr. Pruitt tells you, if you have any problems, issues, or concerns with the IRS, you can send them a letter, but also send it to the United States Treasury Department, because that's who's really running the show. Okay, so he's doing away with the Internal Revenue Services and creating External Revenue Services, which is why he's putting tariffs or taxes on other countries. Because before, under the Republic, you didn't tax the people. That's unconstitutional. In fact, it's treasonous. So a lot of these governmental agencies, congressmen, congresswomen, they are going to Guantanamo Bay if they haven't already gone there, and they will have to be dealt with. Some of them will be hung at the gallows. and their assets will be frozen. Before, again, under our republic, you could not tax the people. You had tariffs, you taxed governments and companies abroad to do business with you. Trump is bringing that reality back in, taxing countries and freeing the people. That alone, by eliminating the IRS, is going to make us extremely wealthy. What else has he done to make us extremely wealthy? He created the Sovereign Wealth Fund. You can look all this up. Fact check me. I'll put as much as I can in the description section for you when I can. So the Sovereign Wealth Fund is a fund for our country. Notice the words he used: sovereign. You're free. Nobody controls you. There's no government agencies. The Supreme Court of the United States overturned these government agencies. And I have a list of 441 that I can share with you. Okay. But it's also in the community section of my YouTube channel. So 441 have been overturned. So these government agencies will have to cease and desist. All that is going away, family. But the Sovereign Wealth Fund is letting you know that we're sovereign. We're free already. That fund is comprised of stocks, bonds, real estate, gold, silver, rare earth minerals. Remember, just 2 summers ago, Wyoming discovered 2.34 billion metric tons of rare earth minerals. And there's more here in America because, again, this is Egypt. You got gold in the Grand Canyon. You got gold flowing through all along the Colorado River. You have gold in the pyramids. You have gold all over this landmass and all over the world. So the Sovereign Wealth Fund was comprised of all of these assets: real estate, stocks, bonds, gold, silver, rare earth minerals, et cetera, digital assets. And it will be used for 2 things: for development, like of our country, infrastructure, humanitarian projects, et cetera, development and investments. And by this way, you don't tax the people. So no, you don't need the taxes to create roads or do infrastructure improvements. That's going to come from the Sovereign Wealth Fund. This is exciting, family. So that is happening right now in real time. Additionally, you have countries like Ukraine and the Congo offering America rare earth minerals in exchange for peace. The Congo has been raped for I don't know how many decades for their resources, their cobalt, for our cell phones and computers, their gold, their silver, for so long that the president of the Congo has offered America rare earth minerals. And the Congo is one of the richest nations in the world. And some articles say they are the richest nation in the world as it relates to rare earth minerals. They offered America rare earth minerals in exchange for Trump negotiating peace agreements. Also, Ukraine offered us rare earth minerals for peace agreements. Okay. So I don't care what Zelensky does and says and how he pretends like he's the man. Trump handled him because President Trump said, not only am I, of course, going to make sure that I negotiate peace between you and my boy, Vladimir Putin, but you're going to pay me. And Trump has told us many times, and case in point, the interview he did with Fox News, and I've shown you guys that. And if I remember, I put in the description section, look up President Trump Fox News interview with Soleimani on YouTube. He said in that interview, all these countries that we're negotiating with and that we've protected, we're going to make them pay us. We made Afghanistan pay us. Was it Afghanistan? No, we made Saudi Arabia pay us $1 billion. We made South Korea pay us $500 million. And the interviewer said, well, what about Iraq? Iraq wants you to pull out. And he said, I'm not pulling out from Iraq because they'll tell you one thing in public, but they tell me something else in private because I'm the man. And he said, not only are we not going to pull out of Iraq altogether, we might pull some of them out, but we're going to make them pay us because after the war, we rebuilt their infrastructure and it looks better than anything we have here in America or in New York. He said, their railroads, their airports look better than LaGuardia Airport in New York. He said, so they're going to pay me. He said, oh, so the interviewer said, how are you going to make them pay you? How are you going to make them pay you? President Trump said, they already paid us. We have billions, what he said, 36 billion of the Iraqi dinar, their money in our banks right now. So he said that before he left office under the first administration. My point is, If you have Iraqi dinar, know that President Trump says America has Iraqi dinar in the banks right now. And the billionaire, President Donald Trump, a consummate businessman, would not have currency sitting in the bank right now if they were not worth something. This leads me to my next point. Banks also not only met globally to make sure that they were ready for your tier 2 assets or foreign reserves or foreign currencies, but banks just met and it was decided that through executive order, banks no longer have to go through red tape. They no longer have to go through legalities. They no longer have to go through any type of laws or anything when they do cross-border transactions. So what I'm saying is now banks can do cross-border transactions and cross-border payments through Ripple and their stable coin XRP. Okay, so for any of you that owns XRP or digital assets, cross-border payments is becoming a thing. And that's why all the countries all over the world are saying we're moving towards a digital system. But President Donald Trump said America will be the digital capital of the world. If this information is blessing you, family, drop a 1 in the chat, thumbs up. And if you care to, send Dr. Pruitt a couple $1 blessing, whatever you want. Mama Kia, Cash App, $ Mama Kia 13, MAMAKIA 13 or 13. Or you can just say, right on, my sister, right on. Okay, so banks are ready for cross-border payments. I've shown you that podcast. They're ready for cross-border transactions. Now, in layman's terms, it means now you can do transactions between America and Iraq and Afghanistan and Ishban 2 and Korea. Now they're ready for foreign currency exchanges, and no longer do they have to go through red tape, because under the Biden administration, you had to wait on legislation. But now that Trump is in office, you no longer have to go through any type of legislation because we're free. So people may not know that the republic has been restored, but all this rollout of all this information is showing you that it is true. Also going on in the world is that the Berlin Conference is being dismantled. The Berlin Conference was a conference that occurred decades ago, centuries ago, between European nations, whereby they made a decision that they would divide the continent of Africa to rake the resources from each nation and take the resources for themselves. But the Berlin Conference is being dismantled. That's why you've seen videos of these European leaders kiss the feet of African leaders and beg for forgiveness. I'll have to show you all that video. I've shown on my old channels, but they did away with it. So I have to find that video. But the Berlin Conference ceased to exist. That's why I reported to you all that Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, Senegal, and Niger, along with some of the other African nations that were controlled by France, kicked out the colonists, kicked out France, right? And said, you no longer have a place here. We'll form our own military alliance and we'll take care of ourselves. And that has single-handedly disrupted the French economy. And that is why there was a no confidence vote in France that demolished the whole French parliament, their whole financial system, because the people of France said, we had enough. You've been raping the Congo and raping these African nations through the Berlin Conference. And now they kicked us out and we can't depend upon them. Oh, now we're suffering and we're struggling. And this is why Macron is so mad and saying, I won't step down to 2027, but he's got to go. Because according to that 207 or 209 country agreement that says that they will stop trading with the dollar, use their own local currencies and use gold, it also says that they agreed to world peace. That is why the Congo and Ukraine and other nations offered Trump and America rare earth minerals. That's the money that they have, the resource that they have to bring about world peace in their countries. So the Berlin Conference is being dismantled. Countries are kicking out the colonists. You know, you had Belgium that colonized part of Africa. You had the UK or Britain. You had the Dutch. You had who else? Other European, the French, all different. You even had Spain and Italy. Italy actually used to colonize Somalia, which my grandson, who's half Somalian, told me that. He's 7 years old. He knows more about his nation than I do. So you had all of them, decided to do that and to rape the continent. That's been dismantled. Another thing that's being dismantled is the Balfour Agreement that allowed Israel to steal land from the Palestine. So the Pope had an agreement with the Rothschild family and said, we're going to call you all Jews because we know the Bible says that Jews are God's people. And we know you're really Zionists and you're really Khazarian folks from the Russian area. You're part of the Khazarian mafia, but we're going to tell the people that you're Jews and you need your own homeland. So the Pope said, we're going to allow you to steal that part of the Israel, part of what is it called? Palestine, and we're going to call it Israel, and we're going to let you have it. Well, that has been dismantled as of last year, and that agreement was not allowed to go on, or it stopped. They did not renew the agreements. Just like America did not renew our agreement with Saudi Arabia as of last summer. We got to keep up with the news, family, with the real news in order to see that our freedom and sovereignty and prosperity is here. So that agreement between America and Saudi Arabia was significant because what made the United States dollar, the fiat dollar, the world reserve currency, and gave the United States incorporated financial and economic hegemony was our agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil and force all exporting nations to get oil from Saudi Arabia using the United States fiat dollar. Okay. But that agreement was not renewed as of June of 2024. But even before that, 2 years prior to that, Saudi Arabia had joined BRICS, my darlings. So if Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition and stopped trading with the dollar, that was our signal that the dollar, USD, had lost all of its power. And it's a basic economic principle that as the dollar loses its value, gold and silver increase in value. And that is why gold breached $3,000 per ounce just a few days ago. And silver got close to $35 per ounce. What does that mean for you and me, family? Keep your eyes on gold as you see it go up, because economists have told us once gold breaches $3,000, it's a wrap. You're going to see a systematic collapse of the system. That's why the stock market collapsed. That's why a lot of these even digital assets start depreciating in value. But that's an opportune time for you to buy depreciated assets. Stop getting afraid when you see things go up or down, and know everything's being influenced by the political system and by the negotiations that President Trump reaches. So when the gold went up to $3,000 per ounce, that meant that the United States dollar was significantly losing value. For those of you that says, I can't afford gold, I don't know how I can, look into gold backs or gold RM notes. That's 24 karat gold or 14 karat gold, real 0.999 gold pressed onto a note. Here in America, 46 states have repealed the state sales tax from the sales of precious metals, meaning that they acknowledge silver and gold as money. So you can use gold backs or gold RM notes to buy local goods and services. And you can look into junk silver or constitutional silver, which is silver coins minted before 1964. Those coins have real 90% silver, or get sterling silver is 92% silver. So where there's a will, there's a way. So I just want to let you all know that so much is going on, family. For our good. There was an article that came out by Zero Hedge that said there's a debt jubilee. I think it was Zero Hedge. We'll see it. Debt jubilee in biblical proportions that will occur. It says debt jubilee and biblical proportions. Are you ready? And the reason why that happened is because we are in the 50th year of a debt jubilee. What is the 50th year of debt jubilee? Well, according to biblical times, biblical, you have to let all the slaves go every 7 years, and you have to forgive all the debt and give the land a rest, as well as have a great celebration every 7 years, according to the Bible. I'm raised in a Jewish tradition because I'm Jew. You know the Jews. The true Jews are in America. So I was raised in that tradition. You do it every 7 years, and then you do a cycle of 7 years, 7 times 7. On the 49th year, you do the same thing. And then you have a huge celebration on the 50th year. We are in the year of the 50th debt jubilee. And that's why there were articles that came out that says a debt jubilee in biblical proportions is coming. And I think it was Zero Hedge that produced that article, but here is another one. And I'm going fast because I don't want to keep you long and I have another appointment. So here it is. That Jubilee of Biblical Proportions is coming. Are you ready? It's coming, family. And this is why many people have been actually coming on my channel in the comment section. And I reported on this before saying, Dr. Pruitt, my debt's been erased. My student loans have been erased. My mortgage payment has been erased. Now, it hasn't happened for us all, but it has happened for some. So it's a slow rollout. And I'm wrapping up. Not only are mortgages being forgiven or done away with, but this particular video says landlords are defaulting on mortgages and rents drop 40% in the inner cities. Listen to the first minute of this.
These landlords are on the verge of bankruptcy of these apartment buildings behind me and across America. The luxury rental market is crashing across the US. These buildings are sitting empty, and these landlords are cutting rent as much as 40%, and they still can't rent these units. And the way that these apartment developers got in trouble was during the pandemic. They took out all this debt to build these skyscrapers, and they're having to give 3 months free rent. And the reason they're having to give this free rent is because when you look at the rental prices, they're really high. A studio in this apartment goes for around $1,600 a month for only like 450 square feet. A 1-bedroom starts at $1,950. A 2-bedroom starts at $3,250. And they thought that people would continue to pay these high rents that they did during the pandemic, but now they're not. In many cases, people in cities like Nashville are moving back to where they came from during the pandemic, leaving all these vacancies. And I'm here at another luxury property that's sitting completely vacant, everyone. And
so I'll put that video in the description section, but basically, rents had gone up so high that people could not afford to pay them. And now these rental properties are vacant, as well as many commercial properties are now vacant. So what that means for you and me is that everything's crashing. You also have restaurant chain stores that are secretively closing without notice. You have the government downsizing. Those buildings are coming open. You have corporate offices. All these buildings that were full are now empty. So many of these companies, families, they're collapsing. So what that means for you is now we'll have the opportunity to create our own businesses, and we, the mom and pop shops now, and we will have stores. We will be the ones to do the hairs and do the hair and the nails. We will be the one to own real estate, and we can rent it out to people that we know or other people. We are now in control. That's all I'm saying. So with all these properties being dumped on the market, then that means that the prices of those buildings will come down, and eventually rent prices, as you saw in that video, and he goes on to talk about rent prices are dropping as much as 40%. So you might not see it in your city or your state now, but it is happening. Stay encouraged and, keep knowing that it's happening. Command it to happen. That's what I've been telling people. Command this to happen now. And we see an acceleration of it happening because we've been commanding, not begging, not crying and groveling. Oh God, when is it happening? When is Trump going to do a job? We're commanding things to happen in real time. We command the real estate market to crash. We command the stock market to crash because everything tied to the dollar must crash. We command these companies that were owned by the deep state to completely collapse. Also keep in mind that Evergrande, which is the largest real estate company owned by China, went bankrupt and they were forced to liquidate. They own properties here in America. They own farmland. This is the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, attached to Evergrande. They own homes, real estate. They own a lot, as well as the Ukrainian mafia. Well, Evergrande filed bankrupt and they were told and forced to liquidate. So yes, this Chief Mack is saying is part of the new earth, and this will allow us to be part of the new wealth, and we are the new wealth management. So things are happening, family. When Evergrande went bankrupt and forced to liquidate, that even dumped more houses onto the market. And I've shown you articles at the same time that they filed bankruptcy, Evergrande, the largest real estate agency owned by China and the Chinese Communist Party, 400 million people defected from the Chinese Communist Party, also known as the CCP, and they did a huge celebration in New York called Taidong. And I've shown you articles about that, and I'll try to put that in the description section for you as well. What else is going on in the news, family? Millions of Social Security beneficiaries have received $6,000 payments, a surprise $6,000 payment. Oh no, look at all these ads coming up. So let me see if I can bring that. Millions of people are noticing a surprise payment of $6,000 or a range of $6,000 in their bank account. The money is from the Social Security Administration, and NBC5 Responds has heard from retirees who say they've received this extra cash but don't know why. The answer is that the $16,000-ish payments are thanks to the Social Security Fairness Act, which went into effect earlier this year once Trump took the helm as the CEO and commander-in-chief of the United States Incorporated. So somebody in the chat let us know that their parent, their mom, I think, received $1,000. Okay. So it'll be anywhere between $1,000 and $6,000 coming into your account if you are a Social Security beneficiary. And I think you must qualify certain ways, but I'll let you see the article. Then you know that many if not all, I think it was like millions of American householders will receive at least a $5,000 check from DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, who found a surplus in money when they were downsizing the government. They said, at least we got to give taxpayer $5,000. Also in the news, you guys have known this, that United States aid workers were sent back home from many of these countries because U.S. aid was found being fraudulent. They were supposed to be giving money and other educational benefits and aid to foreign countries who were in need, like these developing countries or third world, fourth world countries. But what they discovered, Elon Musk and President Trump and their team, was that they were actually using U.S. aid and our tax dollars to fund transgender operations, to force people who don't even believe in the Rainbow Coalition, to force them into accepting that type of lifestyle if they wanted this aid, and forcing them to do all type of things for the U.S. aid. Well, that U.S. aid will cease to exist, and now these countries will use their own resources to take care of themselves. So all I wanted to do, family, was to bring you up to date and let you know that things are happening in real time. Stay the course, stay encouraged, and know that we have power. We are sovereign. We are free. As such, you can command things to happen even quicker. And when you expect them to happen and you command them to happen, then that's what happens in your reality. Jason said he's not going to quit his job anytime soon. Nope, we're not. You still have to be rational. Don't quit your job. But for those of you who, desire to start a business while you're working or on the side, and you want to learn how to operate outside of the jurisdiction, and you're not afraid of these people, and you're not afraid, and you know what to do if you want to operate in a private or outside jurisdiction of the United States Incorporated, right? Go ahead and create your business now. Create your humanitarian project. Sit down, get it done. Don't just wait for the money to happen. Some things you can do right now. Chief Mac has a way of creating trust where you can create a business, put it in trust, operate outside the system. If you don't want to wait till everything happens officially, contact Chief Mac at Unity in Motion 45. That's UNITYINM. Let's see, MOTION 45 at yahoo.com for a consultation, and he will help you. So of course, for the consultation, you do pay, but it's a small fee. He will help you. So contact Chief Mac, Unity in Motion 45 at yahoo.com. So some bankers will tell you to Jason's response that he called the bank. They don't know about the boulevard. Some of the bankers don't know about foreign currency exchanges because we know more than them. Okay, they're just bankers. The only thing they're supposed to do is sell the products and services of the bank. Okay, they don't need to know everything. And then the ones that do know have signed non-disclosure agreements. I've talked to bankers, wealth managers. Those are the ones that really know what's going on. They're not supposed to talk about it, because if they talk about it before it's time, then they'll get an onslaught of calls like they did in 2018 when I was talking to my wealth management person and VP of the bank and bankers and at Wells Fargo and California. They can't talk about it because then they'll get all these calls, they'll flood the calls, and they'll hold up business. They don't have time for that. People are waiting for an official announcement. But if you follow the Dr. Kia Pruitt show and other people who are reporting the news, you know the real deal, family. So anybody that is worried and don't believe in all this, then, just know that it's happening. Try to keep the vibrations high, and let's only put positive comments in here, please. The banks will lie about everything and about knowing the revaluation, Chief Mack says. And if you want to contact him, here is his email, unityemotion45@yahoo.com. And finally, David Bryant says, hello, Dr. Pruitt. I love your energy and the information that you're sharing. Thank you for your diligent research. Question: what about highway tolls? Will the toll system be removed? The toll system will be removed, and all taxes. The only tax, because those tolls are taxes, the only tax that will be allowed are taxes that are put on large ticketed items and taxes by taxing other nations or tariffs for doing business with us. So yes, wonderful question, family. Wonderful question. So that's about it, family. I just want to encourage you. Adrian says, I'm interested in a trust so my trust can pay my bills. Yes. Good. Oh, good point. So contact Chief Mack at unityemotion45@yahoo.com. And also I want to say thank you all to all of you that have sent me a Cash App blessing. I hear it going off, but I have to leave. I have an appointment. I will acknowledge you all when I come back. Again, I'll put as many of the videos and articles as I can in the description section when I come back. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Thank you for the Cash App again. $ Mama Kia 13. That's $ MAMAKIA. Oh, and I gotta go. My battery's running low. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Go out and make this a fantastic, phenomenal day. I love you. Thank you for joining me. Peace. Like this channel, share the video, family, and subscribe to the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show on YouTube and Rumble. Peace.